like I said, I'm still learning. I'm still this is very fresh, very young, but like each day brings something new to that, and I have to just continue to stay committed and to my vision and my truth.
Hello and welcome back to JobsWorth. This week we have George Artemi, founder of cinnamon roll brand Roll Boys, coming back on the podcast for the second time to tell us about what he's been up to in the last 12 months. The journey he's been on is nothing short of transformational. When we first spoke, he was right on the precipice of going all in on this cinnamon roll idea. And I remember sitting there listening to his story and thinking, God, I hope this works out for you. And if anyone's going to have a chance at doing it, it's going to be George. And yeah, I don't think he needed my well wishes in the end, because he has absolutely, can't think of a better expression, smashed it in the last year. We do talk about the reality of what it takes to build the brand that he has. He's had incredible success in a short amount of time, but George is very introspective, he's very honest about how he's found that experience, and we talk about that during this episode. We also have a bit of exclusive news for you. As you watch this or listen to this, George will be about 3 days out from opening up a new residency, but I'll let him tell you all about that over the course of the conversation. So please enjoy this episode. If you've got any feedback or any comments you want to leave, feel free to get involved wherever you're watching or listening, and stay tuned for next week. George, welcome back.
Thank you very much, mate. It's an absolute pleasure to be here.
Yeah, you were the first returning guest that we've had. So we just pre-record, we were saying it's been about, I think it's a year to the week or so since you were last in, recording in my office. Didn't have the pleasure of seeing you on camera that time, but it's it's lovely. It's really, really nice to see you, mate. So thank you.
We've upgraded.
It feels like an upgrade, doesn't it? Because before it was just mics and me, and now we've got all of these weird and wonderful bits of tech, which I know nothing about, but fortunately I now work with a team that do.
Likewise.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about that. The delegation is key, right? I'm going to start with a question for you, though. It's a deep one, because we've had the preamble chat before. I know your backstory, so it's nice, quite liberating now that we can go into it. But what would the George I spoke with in late 2024, late summer 2024, let's call it, what would the George back then think of where you're at now?
Oh man, like first thing that comes to mind is just like, it's a pinch myself kind of thing, you know, because obviously when back then I didn't have anything going, I was trying to work my way around into getting something happening in London, and then it coming to life, and then all of a sudden, like over the last year, it's just been this explosion of what is Roll Boys, and it's just been the craziest journey. So to think back of where now, like to where I was then, like I always have the belief, I always had the vision, and I would never have persisted with it like I did if I didn't truly believe it. But like to see it actually come to fruition, come to life, and right in front of my eyes, and just seeing the growth and been fully in it, it's just been like just incredible to see, incredible to witness, incredible to be a part of. I'm not going to spend the entire podcast blowing smoke up your arse, but I was really inspired. Having never met you before, and I say to anyone that asks what episode they should listen to with the podcast, I say start with George's, because I think the journey, there's listeners that hate that word, but the journey that you've been on, I think really embodies what JobsWorth is about. Having that point in your life where you have a junction and you need to make a decision and going all in. And that's what we're trying to inspire people to do. Mm-hmm. So yeah, without blowing smoke up your ass and making this all about how great you've done, to say proud is, because I don't know you well enough to say that, but it's been amazing. Let's just say that. It's been amazing to see how far you've come and what you've built in literally 12 months since our last conversation. It's been crazy to see it. So it's really nice to now get a chance to talk to you about it and get some insight about what the journey's been like. Because when we spoke, you're right at the start of the journey. I remember you were saying that it was about to be a crowdfunding exercise that you were going on, and then not long after we'd recorded, you'd said, actually, no, something's happening. and that was the residency at Saint Espresso in Hackney Wick. Could you have ever imagined how quickly things have grown for you?
No, honestly, no. Like even that last moment of like deciding not to go ahead with the crowdfunding, just going for it like bootstrapped was a massive decision to the whole path. It was just like looking at it like from where it began on day one was great. Like I was happy with it. Like there was people that came. Like I didn't know if there was going to be people that came. Like it was ultimately like just this open the doors and see what happens. And then it just started to go from there. And then once like word of mouth being the most powerful form of marketing, once that started to grow, come January time, that's when it like just went boom. It just blew up. And that's like 3 months into it, 2.5 months in. And there's me preparing for a January that I thought was going to be like January, people go on diets.
Your typical January, let's say.
Your typical January being quiet. I'm preparing, I'm thinking, this is going to be, I'm preparing for a quiet month straight after Christmas. But no, it went the complete opposite way and the queue started to form. And then it just grew and grew. And every weekend since has been just, sometimes I'm like, where are all these people coming from? Like genuinely. And that was my naivety going into it. When I first started, I was like, from Lee, like it done well, it done amazing. I'm like, I couldn't quite comprehend the scope and the scale of a city, and social media and people then traveling or from all over. But like every week was, people just kept coming and coming. But the most important thing for me was people came back. Repeat custom. That for me is a sign that I've got something, I'm really doing something right. And that was amazing to see in terms of the growth. Like people still kept coming back to wait in the lines, and I was like,
and for you, I mean, you were really honest about never having baked anything before and just coming up with this concept for amazing cinnamon rolls. With no baking experience, which I still say to people to this day. I was sat there in this room looking at you thinking, this could go either way, but I'm in. I believe George can do it, but my God, it could fail. It could fall on its arse.
Mate, there were some real times, like especially early on at the beginning, because you got to remember, like, there's a difference in baking at home. There's a difference in small scale baking, and then there's a massive difference in scale. From going from doing what I was doing here, which I was still facing some issues, but then having to like quadruple the amount that we're doing, whilst not having the knowledge and the experience of baking, like with dough, etc. It was challenging, mate. Like it was the biggest headache.
What I love though about how you were really honest about that on social media, because that's the window that most people have kind of seen you to start off with, and then they connect with a brand, and hopefully they're in the queue waiting at Saint Espresso at the time and queuing around the block. I made the pilgrimage down there, and it was, again, it's a real, I don't know why I felt this sense of pride. I don't know you well enough. I've got no connection beyond the chat we had, but I think that's what you elicit in people. It's that response that people want you to do well, people buy into it. And then when you've had the product, you're like, yeah, okay, that's where this connection is driven from.
Yeah, for sure.
But you started at Saint Espresso. So you started that, what turned out to be a 10-month residency.
Yeah, it was meant to be 3 months originally.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
You're a one-man band at the time. So you had to go through the process of learning how to hire people. Now I'm a recruiter for a living, so I would like to say I'm quite good at it, but I still struggle. So to never having done that before, to then go into managing a team, your brand, I think it's fair to say, went viral very early on through some people finding you and then giving you a bit more of a platform. On the face of it, your life has changed. Has it? Has it changed?
Dramatically.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in what ways has your life changed now?
There's a number of different ways. The George who started it is very different to the George of current day within the business, and that is due to learning. I've learned so much over the past year that I never thought I would be in this position where I understand certain things about business and operations and how important systems and processes are, and then managing teams. And that aspect as a person grown. In terms of like my life, as anything grows, as anything becomes more popular, there's more opportunities, right? And then every day, every few days, I'm getting emails and DMs about opportunities with other brands, other partnerships, consulting, just general advice, like you name it, investors and franchise opportunities from the Middle East to the US to around the country. And they're all coming at me at this stage now because it's a brand that is growing and it's strong and people feel really committed to and invested in. And all of these things have been a massive change in my life where I haven't ever faced anything like this before. So I'm learning as I go, but fortunately now like I've got people around me who could support me in those things, in those especially in the things like the brand partnerships and any opportunities that come up where I don't have the knowledge about how all of this stuff works. So it's just now filtering out the things that I knows and being okay with saying no if it doesn't align to the specific vision that I have, and also how to navigate the opportunities that arise, like that are an absolute yes.
That are the ones that you should be following up on.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
Kind of skipping forward to one of the questions, because it just feels like a really good time to put it. It was one thing that really stood out from the conversation we had first time around is your ability to say no. And it was this commitment to this vision. So there was something that you were talking about at the time, people had approached you, you were really set on finding a venue in London and you'd said no. And I was wondering how that's changed, like to go now with the brand that you've got and the influx of inbound opportunities that you've got, is it harder to judge? But it sounds like now you've got more support around you to help you do that.
Yeah, do you know what? There's been a few of those moments where I've had to say no. And it's been really, really difficult to maybe people that have been wanting to come on board or that I've been speaking to about like potential working together that just hasn't worked out because of that same feeling of like, I have to stay true to what I feel right now and listen to that. The no is never easy, you know, especially when like the bright lights shine, you could see the stars and you have an opportunity or a brand or a person that's been in another company that's full of experience.
The carrot they're dangling is an attractive proposition, right? Yeah.
And you have to, I take a long while to get to that decision. I think by trusting too much in ways like I see the best in everybody. And sometimes it's challenging for me to get to like that clear understanding of what's no and what's right for me. And I've got, and I'm, like I said, I'm still learning. And I'm still this is very fresh, very young, but like each day brings something new to that. And I have to just continue to stay committed and to my vision and my truth.
What I've loved about the journey, and again, the point I was going to make, I've gone off on a tangent, was to say about the window that you give us into the experience of running the business, which is, I think, where you can connect with a brand, but then continue that connection because you buy into you as a person. And the fact, I'm going to put it bluntly, sometimes you fuck up. You are a fallible human being and you're willing to showcase that because it lets everyone in on the fact that you do not have to get it right every time. What makes me anxious is seeing your willingness to fuck up. And how willing you are to put it out there. I remember seeing the journey you went on with getting the oven right and getting the dough right early on in your Saint Espresso residency. And then coming out the other side of that, it felt like that was the switch where everything just went through the roof. And those queues started building and the updates on Instagram stories saying it was sold out in 2.5-3 hours. It was just crazy to see, but it it was nice to see that evolution, because some people might just see we've sold out and we've got these queues around the block, not the work that it's taken to get there.
Yeah.
So I wanted to say thank you for the transparency and the authenticity and just the realness, because that, I think, from a branding perspective, it helps people connect, but it also helps people realize that, not everyone's going to get it right, even if they're building a successful brand.
Do you know what, John? Like, I love the fuck ups. Like, I genuinely do, because I just see a story in everything. You know, I see the story in forgetting the order on a Thursday, so I ordered the delivery for the wrong week. So we're standing there and there's no delivery arriving, which means we've got no product to make the rolls for the weekend.
That's quite integral to the business, right? Yeah,
quite. Yeah. No, so those moments where I have to drive to Dartford and at night go to the massive warehouse to pick it up in my nan's Fiat 500, you know, like all of these. But I see like. Yeah, it's not for everybody, and to some people it's like, oh, I don't know if you should be sharing that, I don't know if you should be talking about that, and I genuinely see a story in those moments. They're real. They're real. They're real.
They're real.
They're
yeah,
raw,
it's a great way to describe it.
And they're true. Like, they're what's happening, and like. And that's what I will continue to do. Will continue to share, because I just believe that it's so relatable to people, not just showing the highlight reel. You know,
it's a really good point. And I came away, and I think I said it in the first episode, that I think your strength is storytelling and being able to bring people on that journey with you. And I'm sure you're even better baker than you were. But again, there's power in growing and being able to hire people to do that, as well as dipping in from that from time to time. The next question I was going to go on to, how have you found the transition from one-person business to now leading a team? What was that process like? Again, I imagine a lot of learning along the way, but how have you found the transition?
I've been very lucky. Like, it's almost happened so naturally. I went from one person knowing what to do to then two people knowing what to do. And then once the third, fourth, fifth, sixth and seventh came along, like, it was just like, well, this is what we do. This is how it runs. This is what George expects. This is how he wants it. This is how he doesn't want it. You know, it really, I'll give a lot of credit to the first person that I hired, Shanae. Like, she was the first person that was on board with me and has been with me ever since. And she was the one that kind of came on board, and she's very process orientated. So she's like, this is how we do this. And if you don't tell her to change, she won't change it.
Right.
You know, if you tell her step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, she'll do step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know, that's exactly what's been happening. And I've just managed to get people on board that have just bought into that and just picked it up straight away. It was challenging, because I realized that I'm now going from the doing to managing people. And that was hard for me. And it will continue to be hard, because people of different characters, people of different emotions, different, you know.
Let's be honest, when you're managing or leading people, a lot of that is playing counsellor, therapist, support, emotional support, because they're human beings.
Yeah, for sure.
And there's ebbs and flows of all of that. Yeah. So that's tough.
Yeah, I mean, but it's very tough. And you go through, obviously there's good days and you can feel the energy sometimes drop. And I'm like just now observing and witnessing all that's going on. I think I've done a very good job of like actually stepping back and allowing them to do it, to get on with it, trusting them to do it. And I've kind of set the boundary without intentionally setting the boundary, to like give them the freedom to, like, if there's a problem, like, you will fix it. Like, I don't have to be the first port of call always. And that was very freeing for me. That was very, very freeing.
Did that happen early on, or did you find that maybe you were guilty of micromanagement for a bit and then had to withdraw, or was it quite an early transition for you to say, okay, I'm going to give these people autonomy, responsibility, bit of freedom, and let them do what they hired for?
Yeah, I feel like there was at the very beginning, because it was like this thing that I'd worked on, and now I'm like almost like going, this is now your responsibility to take care of. The thoughts that I had in my mind is like, is the product going to be the same? And the woo-woo thoughts in my head was like, the energy that's put into it from me, like, is that going to be the same energy from these people? Which then, which then makes the products, like, you can taste the love that's into it, you know?
Yeah.
And fortunately, I have people that are better than me, you know? And my sister being one now, you know?
That's brilliant. So I never knew that was an official hire, but I've seen her a lot more on your socials getting involved in this. So this is great.
She hates that. Okay. she hates any camera near her, but sometimes she's in the background or something. Or if
I think I've seen her hand up before
hand
against
in
the camera.
Face, go away. But
what's that feel like, bringing your sister into the fold now?
She's been incredible. Like, honestly, if she left tomorrow and she said, you step back in, I wouldn't know what to do. Like, the whole process, she's basically taken on the role as like lead baker.
Okay.
So she is now in charge of the whole operation on the day with the bakes. All right. So she's got that now down to a T, timing wise, what's baked and when, like for the business model. And that's happened naturally. And I don't know it. So if I now step back in, I am fucked.
We need to get your sister on the podcast.
Yeah, there's no way.
What a transition for her as well.
But it's just taken so much weight off my shoulders. Like, it really has. Like I know that she's there, and I know everything's going to get done.
But not only is it your sister, obviously you were running a business together before, so you know how each other
works. Yeah.
And I think that's a lovely thing too.
It is lovely, but sometimes it's the sister-brother relationship over the
sibling, not rivalry even, but friction, conflict.
Yeah,
whatever.
The difference in communication sometimes, you know, just natural. Yeah. You know, obviously the other staff wouldn't maybe like talk to me in a way that Mariana does.
Yes.
You know, which is, it's fine because they understand the dynamic. But for me, it's like maybe sometimes, like when she's upset about something or angry about something, like the whole communication in that front is a little bit different.
I understand that completely.
Yeah, so it's just the brother. But I wouldn't change it.
You take the rough with the smooth.
Yeah,
ultimately, there's more smooth than there is rough. But yeah, you can't strip away the fact you are brother and sister.
And she cares.
And she gives a shit.
Cares,
exactly.
Mate.
Yeah, I think
she
that's
really
great.
cares.
Going back to the point you made about one of the woo-woo thoughts that you had, which is when people that aren't you are making a product, is the same love going into it? Are people having the same experience with what they're buying, what they're tasting? How do you make sure you're bringing people in that care about the brand and are going to represent the brand in the way that you want them to? Because I say this to everyone, but I do think it's the best analogy. You've created a baby. This baby is your business. You've put literal blood, sweat and tears into this thing, and you have to give up some of that responsibility. That is a huge decision to make. Can you ensure that you're hiring the right people that are going to love it like you do?
That's very difficult, especially with, like, it's not something that I thrive at. Is hiring people and especially firing people.
Look, I've had to do it over the course of my career, and I mean, who enjoys that? If you enjoy it, you're a sadist.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I understand. Like, it's a learning process for me as well to get better at that. And in terms of like actually bringing the right people on board, I think it's an energy thing for me, you know. I think I feel it, like, you know, when you sit down and speak to somebody and you get that, and you also get when they don't. And sometimes that is shown over a period of time that they're not fully invested, and that's when like the decisions have to be made. But ultimately, I've sharpened up my hiring process now to make it more professional than just going on the vibes. But
there is something to be said, like following your heart, and there is a gut instinct. And I've made hiring decisions. I make a lot of selection decisions in my day job based on gut instinct and that feeling of how does that character fit with the business that I'm hiring for. So there is a talent in doing that. I think leadership comes with needing to know when you get that wrong quite quickly before you start having a detrimental impact on what you've built.
And so, knowing that it's okay to change your mind as well. That's been something, is like, if you start to feel like this is not right, and then you think, now I've got to deal with this, and it's like almost like a little shame on myself for like,
it's like you failed in a way.
Do you know, how have you let this happen? And like, it was something that from my previous business that, like, in terms of, I tried to make a more executive hire back in my old business, and I made a couple and I hired a chef, and it was all wrong. And I was like, you can't do this. Like, you know, those intrusive thoughts start to happen. And sometimes, you know, it's the same with the people that I might have been looking to bring on board, and like in more executive positions in Roll Boys, and then change my mind because ultimately, like, it just didn't feel right, back to that previous conversation we had, and then having to deal with that. But it's just, you're not going to get it right all the time. Like, you're going to fuck up, and that's just part and parcel of it. I mean, the hardest thing for me is, like, in interviews, it's like, they're painting their best picture, you know, and
it's the highlight reel again.
It's the highlight reel, and only over a certain amount of time you're going to see what's true, and that's where you have to make the decisions quickly. And like I said, I've been very lucky with the people that have been part of this team, and like, I would not be where I am today without these people that have come in every single weekend. Like, no complaints about the start times. They're there at 6 o'clock in the morning, 4:45, 5:30, getting it done, and they work through. They know the process, they know the operation, they just go for it.
What was really nice when I came up to Hackney Wick, I'm seeing a snapshot, right? They're there for a lot longer than I was there. But I looked into that kitchen and they looked engaged and happy and like they were working with meaning. And I don't think it takes a lot to give people purpose and meaning in their job, but I could tell that they were engaged. Again, that's outside perspective looking in, but I just loved that whole thing that you'd set up, and there was just this really lovely feeling, and it was a vibe. We can say vibe.
Yeah, for sure.
Sometimes it's not a tangible thing. You just know that a collection of people and the dynamic between them, and the fact they're all working to the same goal. That's a really lovely thing to witness. Yeah,
I think that's the key word, is dynamic there for sure. Yeah, the dynamic and the vibe.
The vibe. We keep going back to the word vibe. The last time you were in, you were speaking about your earlier career with football, and there were some times that it didn't work out at clubs, and you referenced a couple of times relationships with managers being the reason for that. Do you now, being a manager yourself, and I know you've done management with the Vine too, but with Roll Boys, have you now got more empathy for some of the managers that were managing you back then, and how they were managing you, or how you were letting yourself be managed by them?
That's a great question. I believe that I've learned how I don't want to manage and how I don't want to be managed. You know, ultimately, like, I will continue to say, like, I am still learning. Like, I don't get everything right. You know, today I had to have a conversation with the kitchen manager, a conversation that had to be met with a lot of compassion, because she came to me with something and I had to express compassion and understanding back for that, and saying, look, I could have been better in this area, like owning it, you know? And so, like, there's continual learning. But, and to referencing back to, like, those managers, there was no compassion, no empathy. It was just straight up cold decision making, that because that's how they felt, that was it.
Right.
You know, there wasn't, you know, and I think that's where football sometimes, I don't know these days because I've been out of the game for so long, but especially back then, like, it was like cutthroat.
It's a different world, right? Yeah. It's not exactly apples for apples, but yeah, I was just wondering if there was any lessons from how you were treated and the experience you had that you've now taken in, and it sounds like there are. You connected that.
Massively, yeah. And just from my own learnings over the time, you know, over like learning, like watching YouTube and like listening to people that inspire me as leaders. Like, learning how to be a better leader, and I'll continue to do that and continue to just be a sponge, you know. And I think that, like, I was having the conversation again today, like, I feel like I want to do like a management course because I've never done one. So just to get like an understanding a little bit more about other people's perspective on how to, especially in the hospitality industry, it's all just kind of been a making up as I go along. And I think just because of my approach that I've done quite well with it. So yeah.
Look, and again, I think that's what's really inspiring about seeing how you've done it. You are not afraid to go into it and then learn along the way. Yeah. I've often thought exactly the same thing. Maybe I should do some management training because I feel like making it up's great, but it's not always the imposter syndrome in you when you're just making it up does make you think like, is everyone else noticing that I'm making this shit up as I go?
Exactly.
It would feel nice if you felt like you had a bit more credibility. Yes. And sometimes that does come with study and doing the certifications or whatever it is.
Especially like in those positions, like it's just because like I look at it in the aspect of like things like one-to-one meetings and like check-ins and all of this kind of HR stuff.
That's
and I'm like,
HR
what is this?
Right?
Like, I'm like, but yeah.
It's a necessary evil as you grow though, isn't it? The first, and I can't remember the stat. It's someone's going to listen to this and completely prove me wrong, but I think it's from the 13th member of staff. Yeah. That's when things get really interesting from an HR perspective. Yeah. I don't know if you're there yet.
No, I'm at 7 plus a few,
and it's already interesting.
Yeah,
right?
a few. It's already interesting. Yeah.
Someone's going to prove me wrong on that quote, but or that stat, but I think it's around that point.
I'm getting close.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so I want to talk about the brand and some of the content you've put out there, because some of the stuff that you were doing went viral pretty early on. Even when you were still in and around Leeds, there was a real kind of swell of support around your brand. And the term viral, I don't know how comfortable you are with it, but it's known terminology, so we'll just use it. But a lot of the content that you put out went viral maybe a few times, and then you've landed on the radar of some big influencers, some big brands. How much is it in your mind now when you're putting the content out there that could happen? Or are you doing it just with the intention of bringing people on the journey? Are you ever trying to create something to make it viral? Is that in your head at all?
I'm going to say that I went through a very sticky period with it where it all kind of started to kick off and I was maybe seeking it a little bit too much.
Okay. Thanks for the honesty.
Yeah. And then you have to come back to the reality of like, what am I doing here? And I was, instead of looking at the story that I wanted to tell, I was looking, okay, so what do people want to see? How can this get the views and things? Like now, like I've passed that phase, and I'm not saying that I'll never fall back into that phase because phase is because social media is a fucking tricky place, you know, and it can. And
you owe it so much. Let's be honest. Exactly. The following that you've built is the reason, one of the primary reasons people know about you.
Yeah, exactly.
So you are slave to it to a degree.
Yeah, but it was like it can be it can be that place where you do get trapped in that like view hunting or like hunting or follower hunting. But I think I just had to remind myself and come back to the why, like why am I doing this? And that's to bring people along this journey and storytell and be creative in as many ways that I possibly can and showcase that. And that's when I kind of, the switch flicked for me. It was only a short spell that I really got sucked into this like, oh, I want more because the ego is driving me for more. But now, like, I don't really think about it. I just have a story that I want to tell or a post that I want to put out there, and I do it in the way that I feel. And like, ultimately, if it lands, it lands. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And often the one that you don't expect to will go. Like, I don't know, the first video that went through the roof, like, I had no intention that was going to be something, and it just started to go crazy. And then it's just like, just reminding myself, like, hey, like, look for the story. Don't try and mold a story into what people might want to see.
Because that's what I loved so much about our original conversation, that you were so set on telling the story. And not that it's ever come across many of the content you put out there that you're chasing the likes and the vanity metrics. But we're all human, and we all get the dopamine hit that comes with seeing something start to skyrocket. And
opening your Instagram page and seeing all the notifications and the DMs and things. Yeah.
And when that dopamine hit is also joined by people queuing up and spending money with you, it's hard to kind of disconnect that, isn't it? And bring yourself back down.
It's funny because the hardest thing is I still have that limiting voice inside of my head, like, are people gonna come this weekend? Like, it's almost like I've got the fear. There's a fear of it, just like a deep rooted like fear of it being taken away from me. And I spoke to the founder of have you ever heard of Humble Crumble?
Yes.
So I went and had a meeting with Kim. And I told her like what I was like feeling, and she was like, I was exactly the same. Like when it happened, when it all kicked off, like for her, she was like, I thought it was going to last like 2 weeks. And then it's just continued to years and multiple sites and grown stronger. But I think that's just like part and parcel, and we're humans, you know. And I think that I have sometimes those doubts within me that I'm just like, how long can this go on for? But every week I turn up and I just do my thing, and I do my thing on social media, and then people come and I meet people that tell me that they've traveled from halfway across the world, like to come to, ultimately, like their priority is to come to Roll Boys, and then they come and they tell me and I meet, and I'm like, what the fuck is happening here? Like,
I saw it firsthand when I came up to the site and saw people sort of seeking you out to have those conversations with you. What do you feel is resonating most with the audience? Is it the story and of the building of the brand, or is it the roles?
It's the relatable stories. It's people that understand, they can relate back to their own lives, you know, like, because we all go through the struggles and we all go through the highs and the lows. And I genuinely believe like that is what is the connector. Like people connect an emotion to what it is that I'm doing. It's not just about the product, and it never has been, and you know that obviously from the beginning. But it was always about more than that. And that's what kind of shines for me, is that like people are really invested, people are really bought into this journey. And like there's no sales pitch, there's no like tactics, there's no there's none of that. It's ultimately like, okay, so the emotion that they're connecting would them, like whether it be people in Australia or the US that are just watching from afar, that they're still part of it, you know. But then there's the people that make the visit, make the journey, whether it be from 5 minutes down the road or across the country. Like it's all like part of, like they feel it and they come and they want to be part of it. We had a really interesting comment the other day on, we don't get negative comments, but there was one person that decided to say that they started going in about like, how do people queue this long, like get a bigger place and do more, and there's no idea how the process is. They don't have a clue about the business. And then someone in the comments actually said, like, I came and I waited and I had a great time in the line because I was talking with the people and it felt like a real community. And that, seeing that response to that from somebody I have no idea who they are, to hear that is just like amazing for me to witness, just because it just clarifies what I'm doing, and like just to keep doing the same.
Well, you've got so many advocates for what you've built, so many cheerleaders for what you're building. And yeah, when they're in, again, I don't want to keep talking about my experience in this bloody queue. And like when like it's worth the queue. Let's just say that. Like it was the first time I'd ever had one of your roles, and it was worth it. But so many people were saying, oh my God, did you see George's video doing this? Or I heard about it on this. And you're not this faceless corporation or organization that is just peddling a product. What I really love, George, is that I don't think, other than saying the flavors that you do, not any point in your advertising or marketing do you say, these taste amazing. Everyone else does that for you. And isn't that what we all want? Yeah. Isn't we all want advocates to sell things on our behalf? And that is testament to the brand you've built and the stories you tell. But not once have I ever seen you or a Roll Boys branded thing saying these are the best cinnamon rolls.
Never. And and this is it. Everyone has their own strategies, but like people don't want to be sold to like that, you know. I think like the idea comes back to that, like, okay, so how do we connect an emotion again from the consumer, from the person watching the videos, from the people coming? Like, how do we make the experience memorable? How do we make them like how is it that how do they become invested in the brand, in the journey, in the story, and then the product speaks for itself? I always had the belief that like I didn't have to do that. I didn't have to go and shout about the product because I believed in it. And if other people believe in it too, they'll tell people about it, and through social medias and telling their friends and family, etc. So that's what's happened. I'm truly grateful for it. But yeah, I never have said, I never talk about it, like, ever. I never say, oh, these are amazing. Like, it's just okay. Like,
You mentioned consulting inquiries coming into your inbox. I'm imagining these are brands that kind of want to know how you've built what you've done.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just that was the impression I was left with when we spoke a year ago, was that whatever you do, whether it's roll boys and cinnamon rolls, or you put your mind and your storytelling ability, I promise this wasn't going to be me blowing smoke up your ass, it's turned into a little bit, but whatever you put your focus on to tell a story, build the brand, is going to do things. And that has been amazing to see. So the fact that people are now thinking, how do we get a bit of George's insight on this, is what a great place to be.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, like some people, like it's hard to almost, like, there's so many people that ask for advice and they say they want to start their own thing and they want to do this and like offer consultancy to go to their places and come and do this and that. It is amazing, and it is honestly something that I would like to give back to. Like, I still believe like I've only just started, you know. I still believe that I've only just literally I'm fresh. So there is also that feeling like I've still got a lot of work to do. Like,
is that imposter syndrome kicking in slightly?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, there's like sometimes, you know, you find yourself in a room full of like people that have been there and done it with these things, and there is sometimes that imposter syndrome where I feel like I'm not as experienced or as clever as you, but like I'm starting to come into my own with it and understand that I deserve to be in those rooms. I deserve to, and I don't have to change in order to, just because they might think that I have to do things differently. Like, I genuinely don't feel like I do. Like, I'm on this path to do it my way, and that can be as difficult for some people to hear and think, oh, this won't work, that won't work. But ultimately, like, I heard this podcast the other day, and it was a brand called Chobani in the US, and he'd built this brand. He's come from the hills of Turkey in the mountains and flew to the US. His path led him to this brand, creating $1 billion company, and he was offered billions to sell it. And it wasn't the fact that he wanted to give it up. It wasn't the fact that he wanted to give it up or sell for the billions, like, but he just said that, like, this is my thing that I'm doing this way. And like, as soon as you have too many people from the outside coming in to like alter your vision and alter your perspective on things because that's how they think it should be done, then he said to himself, like, if I die tomorrow, like, would I be happy with what I've created, or would I have the regret of not doing it the way that I wanted? And like, when I listened to that, I was like, you know what, this is something where I have to just stay true to that. Like, I don't have to follow the status quo. I don't have to follow the path of a regular food and beverage brand. Like, I can go and think outside the box and do it the way that I want to grow it. Like, whoever wrote the rules, you know? I'm creating my own path and my own rules for this vision and this brand, and that is just honestly a massive driving force for me now, man.
I love it, and you can see the confidence and how you've grown in communicating that, which again, which is incredible. Can you tell us some of the kind of standout people or brands? So let's rephrase that. Are there particular people you've met along the way that really stand out, or are there brands that you've got to partner with or do some work with along the way that stand out?
Yeah, I'm gonna give credit to the guy at Saint Espresso, Leon, the owner of that. Like, he took a chance. He had me turn up at his door and go, I've got this thing, I think it's going to be big. I actually said to him before we started, I was like, listen, I said, I believe this has the potential to be massive. I said that to him, but who am I?
It's a punt.
Yeah, it's a punt, but who am I? Like, he's seen like
unfounded, untested, what the credentials.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Coming from a town in Lee, how do you know it's going to work here? Blah blah blah. And he took a chance, you know, and he took me in. He forever grateful for him and for Eleanor, the girl that linked us together, who was my yoga teacher. Crazy story, but she linked us, and he took me in. Like, he gave me a platform, you know, and he gave me this understanding about what I said at the beginning about operations and how important systems and processes are. And yeah, it was fucking difficult to work with him at times. Like, it really was. We were just different characters. But the learnings that I can now reflect on has been vital to my growth. Vital. Like,
it was the home, it was the base,
Yeah.
it was you know, it was really the genesis of everything that Roll Boys is now.
Yes.
I don't know what you'd say that chapter was, if it was chapter 2 in the Roll Boys story, the Saint Espresso residency.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Yes.
Yeah?
100%.
So that was the start of your second chapter and has given you this base to grow exponentially since you started.
Yeah.
So I think that's lovely that you can
Look back on it,
you can say that. That's great. Okay, by the time people listen to this, you are going to be days away from a big launch. So tell us what's happening on the 4th of October.
Correct, man.
Okay, what's happening, mate?
We have kept it quiet for a few weeks. We had our last residency day at Saint Espresso on the 7th of September. And the 4th of October is very fast approaching, but we are moving into our second residency in London. It is going to be in the heart of Shoreditch, so right by Spitalfields Market. Not on it. I never wanted to be on it because I always felt like Roll Boys needed its own space. Even though we are moving as a residency into another shop called My Favorite Sandwich. So it's a sandwich shop. It's very well aligned with the brand. It's a cool brand. The owner, the founder of that is my age, so we're similar in that aspect. And he's given me an opportunity to take it to Shoreditch, which will be completely different because now there's lots of people around. And we're not all the way out in Hackney Wick, which I have no complaints about because the people came as a destination. But this new opportunity is so exciting because it gives us the opportunity to scale and grow further into different platforms, different revenue streams. Like we're now having to take on a production kitchen on the side as this space, which allows us to then be creative and introduce new things. Like, I'm not going to expose them, but they're all
exclusives
things
for us, George.
No, they're all really exciting, and it all aligned. You know, it was a decision that I made. Like, it was a fuck yes. Like, when this happened, and it was just it just felt right. And yeah, the 4th of October is open house. 4th and 5th of October is open house weekend. We just shot the Moving Home campaign yesterday, so the whole story is Roll Boys moving home. Yeah. And that went amazing.
I saw some of that on your socials and loved the very small snippets that I saw. I thought it looked incredible, so I can't wait for that.
It's always what I wanted to do, being the creative and being the as a creative entrepreneur, shall we say. Now I've been labelled as. I always knew I couldn't wait for the day to be able to invest money into the marketing, into campaigns, and really like get behind it and have the ideas brought to life that way. Like, and yesterday was a real experience for me to bring that to life. And obviously, by the time this is out, people have seen like the videos and things. But the whole vision behind it was take every aspect of moving home and tell that in a story, you know. So we went and done that. Like, we had the seed, and I grew the idea from that, and it came together really nicely. An amazing team. There was 10 of us, which was mind blowing.
I remember seeing the stuff that you used to put out on social media, which was so well done, but no budget. Like, you were literally walking around Lee in whatever you could dress up in at the time, you know, and then just to see on the socials yesterday with the crew of people, and I was like, you've got to be loving it. Like, pigging shit.
Honestly, man, like I still love those things.
Yeah,
like,
and it's no shade on that. I think what you did was amazing.
Yeah. But the difference is now it's just that elevated. You know, it's that
you've got some money to put into
for sure.
that.
And that's what really excited me when I went and had the finance meeting and he told me I'd had some budget for it. I was like, yes. Even if I didn't, I'd still make it work. But but yeah, it was just one of those things, and it came together. So yeah, now we're literally, by the time this comes out, will be a few days away, I'm guessing, or something like that.
It'll be the 1st of October. People will be listening to this.
So literally,
So yeah, a few days away from
launch. And I'm probably going to have a few more grey hairs. Or at least a few grey hairs. I don't think I have any right now, but
don't rub it in, George. Okay. How's it going to feel different to Hackney Wick? It sounds like you have gone out of your way to make it feel different to Hackney Wick, but can you give us any insight into how it's going to feel different, other than being a lot more centrally located? What's the difference?
It's a completely different operation, completely different dynamic. We're now changing the operation that was all under one roof and splitting it over to two: production kitchen, residency site. The residency site is a basement kitchen, so the whole dynamic of the storefront is different. Right. But we're using the kitchen downstairs to run the proving and the baking and the finishing and the serving, as the production and the production kitchen is where everything else takes place. Right. So having that is different. So all of those challenges there's going to be teething problems, no doubt. There always is.
And we're going to see all about.
Yeah, you are indeed. Even to this day, like now, like having to get all of like the things sorted, like we're having to upgrade the equipment because the equipment that we was using was just way too small for the production that we're scaling. And so all of that stuff is like having to get all of that in and make sure that's all good and working. But ultimately, like on the actual service front, I just feel like the biggest draw for me is that there's so much more potential to grow. And I'm not saying like longer queues down the road, because they're already like long. I'd love for those to continue, but like there's just room to grow internally and externally, like within the business, just to for me to get my fingers into that. That's what really excites me, and that's what's to come for the latter part of the year and into the new year as well.
Well, I think then you've already answered the next question. I was going to ask you what keeps you excited to keep building this. But you kind of alluded to it already, right? I think
it's all the creative stuff, man. It's like why not? You know, like I rephrased earlier, is like I don't just see this as a cinnamon roll brand or quote unquote regular food and beverage brand. Like I'm really coming at it from a different aspect, and like why not? You know, go and have a genuine collaboration with like top brands, and why not go and do things that are so outrageously out of the box that I have plans for next year. Why not go ahead and try those things, you know? Because going back to what I said, like if it was all to end tomorrow and like I hadn't done any of this stuff, like would I wish that I did?
Yeah, you don't want to be left regretting.
I don't want to be left regretting anything.
Has your definition of success changed, George?
My definition of success hasn't changed. It's always been like, I think if I find myself in a position where I am healthy, I'm happy, I think is sometimes is hard for people to talk about, but I've grown to learn that it's okay to want to be financially free, say financially free, but like financially in a good position. Your relationships definitely key to success, like healthy, happy relationships where you're growing, whether it be romantic or friends, like you have a good circle of people around you, you have a good family, and that for me is real success. Like I don't put it just on the financial value of like how big I can grow this business. I don't. I'll give you an example, right? How much like the finance, that just chasing money is not really an interest of mine. I get a report at the end of the day, of how many roles we've sold, right? I don't look at the money. I look at the number of roles, and I look at that and I think, cool, have we growing, or are we there or thereabouts? Like the money, like I don't look at like the how much the actual total in pound signs is. Yeah. So it like none of that is like really a driving force for me. I'm not going to sit here and say that I don't have a vision in mind, like in terms of like how big I want to grow the brand, because obviously the bigger the brand, the bigger the company is, the higher value. But it's not something I get up every day and want to go chasing the money. Like that's not part of what I define as success. Not at all.
No, that's really, and if you were trying to think of an ideal description, that would be it, right? It's holistic. If you are driven solely by pound signs, I can't imagine it leads to a very good end for anyone.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it could be a very lonely existence as well. Yeah. So it sounds like a really lovely way to define it. And it doesn't sound dissimilar to what we were discussing. Your definition of success was the last time we spoke. So it's nice to, even though you are growing, that is still your North Star. Yeah, that is still where you're heading for. I'm going to ask you for some advice. It's not for me. But what would you say to someone who is stuck in this mindset of wanting to do something, but they're just stuck at what if it fails? What if it fails? What would you say to that person if they're listening?
The growth is in the failure. If it happens, then you're going to learn from it. Like you can't avoid it. So why not chance it? Why not give it a go? Like, because if you're too scared to go for it, like, and you sit there and you're never gonna do it, like the regret is way worse than what could potentially happen. What you can possibly do if you get out of your own way and go for it, because those regrets that you're gonna sit there and think, or tell yourself that you can't, or you've given yourself an excuse not to, they're the things that are just holding you back, and it's only you that can change that. So if you get to that point in your life where you actually feel like I need to change this and I need to get out my own way and go for it, then fucking go all in, because ultimately if it fails, and you'll learn and you continue and you keep going and you move, because it's part of it. Every single person that has done anything in life, there's been failures. And in business too. It's just, can you get out your own way? Can you get knocked back and keep moving forwards? And I think that's ultimately like something that I really had to learn. And that was a big challenge for me, to get out my own way.
So George, we've just set up for the game that we're going to play. This is a game called Free Throw or Fess Up. So I'm going to ask you to make a shot on our very professional looking basketball net. You use basketball in a lot of your marketing, so I wanted to pay homage to this and get you playing basketball again. So you have to make the shot, or I'm going to ask you a slightly awkward question.
Cool.
For every shot that you miss, you get a question. If you get the shot, you don't get asked a question. I think I've explained it right.
So if I get it in,
you don't have to ask. You don't have to answer the question.
Fine.
If you miss, I will then ask you the question, and you have to answer it.
Okay.
That is a rule, because otherwise this game is shite.
Right. Gotcha.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
So the first shot is yours, George. No pressure, but also all the pressure.
Yes.
Off you go.
Oh.
You've missed it, which is exactly what I wanted. Do you Google yourself to see what people are saying about you?
No. Absolutely not.
Thank you. Okay. Shot number 2. Off you go. Oh, just missed it again. Have you ever had to delete an over-the-top comment on your socials?
No, never.
Never. I mean, I should have tried harder with the questions. Next shot. Oh! And now you don't even ask it. You're going to have to go again.
Yeah.
Where's Rob? Rob is the ball boy. Off you go.
Oh, I missed.
Have you ever reshot a video because you didn't look good enough?
No, never.
These are great. I know you're being honest about it as well.
Yeah.
You've got one more.
Sweet.
Oh, 2 more, actually. Go on. Oh. It's a miss. What's the most embarrassing thing you've done on social media?
Missing this. No. No,
we're not judging you, George, for the misses.
The most embarrassing thing I've done on social media. Is it has to tie in with Roll Boys?
Not
or?
really.
No, I've got it. This was back in 2015.
Right.
I travelled the US and I flew out with my friend. We was together for a week. And then he went off to Australia and I continued on my own. When he left, I cried and I videoed it and put it on Facebook.
That was better than any answer I thought you could possibly give.
Honestly, terrible.
I appreciate that honesty, George.
Yeah,
right, okay,
absolutely.
It's the last shot.
Yeah.
If you miss it, you get your final question. If you score it, which I hope you do, because we've not scored many, you don't need to answer the question.
Cool. I'm happy with one in.
Okay, off you go, mate. Oh,
2.
Right. Do you know what? I'm going to ask you the question
Go on,
anyway.
ask me
Steph
anyway.
Curry or LeBron?
Steph.
Yeah, easy answer.
All day.
Well done, mate. That
Thank
was
you, mate.
absolutely
Thank
incredible. Very well done. I think 2 shots was good.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Hello, me again. I did have a thought after watching the intro back that I should have ironed this t-shirt. But look, I'm a dad. I'm lucky that it's even still white. But I was wondering, if you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel. It makes a huge difference. And if you're enjoying the podcast wherever you're listening, please rate and review. I'll let you get back to the chat. Right, we're going to do the closing tradition on the podcast now, George. Do you remember this one?
Yeah, I do. Is it with your mum?
Mum
Yeah,
sent in another question.
nice.
Yeah, we've stuck with it for we're carrying on. So, what has Mum come up with this time round? Let's take a look.
Hi George, it's getting on for a year now since I last asked you a question. I wondered, how are the vegan version of your delicious cinnamon rolls getting on? Thanks.
I had to let her ask. George. Go on, update us on the vegan, the vegan cinnamon rolls. She can't be the only person asking for vegan cinnamon rolls.
No, she's not. She is not. Okay, let me tell you a little story.
So it's Lisa, just to remind you, if you did want to address the response. It's okay.
Lisa, when we done the Nike event, we done an event for Nike.
Just drop that in.
Yeah,
brilliant.
just one of their requests a week out was that we had to have a vegan option on the menu, and we had never done it before. But this was one of those things, I was in it, so I had to make it happen. All right, there was no 2 ways about it. I can't go back to Nike and say, I'm sorry about the Nike thing, but there's, I apologize in advance. But so I can't go back to them and say no. So we had to get it done. And we'd done a vegan option, and it was such us about face. It was and this isn't saying that I'm not going to do it, but that actual process, I saw that and I was like, this is going to take time to do well. This is going to be completely different to the operation that we currently have when we've got just a Saturday and Sunday operation. and just me then all of a sudden throwing in a completely different recipe into the mix for the team would be really a recipe which could potentially damage us for if we are not sure. So with that learning from that event, we done the product. It was good, but just from the learnings of how the whole operation worked, I was like, we can't introduce this yet. So just because of that, I've decided that the vegan options are not going to come until we're more into a full-time operation where we have a full team that are working during the week. We have people that can develop recipes and people that can bring these to the standards that we hold ourselves to. Because otherwise, I'm not gonna risk it for that, especially for something that's the ingredients are so different, you know, and people might disagree with me, but ultimately for me, that's what I believe.
You've got to be bought into it, otherwise it's never going to get off the ground, is it?
Yeah, so it will happen one day, Lisa, but I'm sorry.
So my question on the back of that, if you can do it for Nike, can you do it for my mum?
if there's a tray of just 12 rolls or something, I could,
brilliant. All right, we'll let her know. She's got to come down to London,
yeah. Just give me a bit of pre-order time, like give me a bit of notice.
More than a week.
Yeah.
George, it has been. Do you know what? Yeah. I was so excited about revisiting this, and the difference, the contrast from where you were to where you are now in 12 months is just insane. And I continue to wish you all the success in the world. I'm so bought into what you've built.
Thank you.
I'm a Roll Boys super fan. I wear your t-shirts every other day if they need to go in the wash. I just think you're amazing, mate. So thank you so much for coming and having another chat with us.
Thank you, man. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And then we'll have to do round 3 again.
Another year and see what happens.
Year.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Cheers,
man.
mate. That was great. Cheers.